Good morning, AP Lang. It's Mr. Johnson here. It's another week. It's another prompt, and we're still talking about rhetorical analysis, and we're still talking about how to get that sophistication point. I've got another strategy for you here. So this week, basically, we're going to be focusing again on the sophistication point, this time on thing number 2, way number 2. So I'm going to throw this up on the screen here, and you can see that in row C for rhetorical analysis, the second way to get the sophistication point is to explain a purpose or a function of the passage's complexities or tensions. So that's the focus of this week, and the prompt I have for you, I think, lends itself really well to this exploring the second way of getting the sophistication point. But I also want to just throw at you one other way to annotate this prompt today, and this is going to be your homework for the day. So I want you to take a look at this method we have devised. This is strategy number 2 that we've come up with for making annotations, taking notes on these prompts. And I want you to remember too that if you don't have a printer at home, that's okay. You can reproduce this on paper. We've just attached it here because this is the only way we can get you materials. But you can draw this out just as easily, and you can use this not only on the prompts that we give you and any prompt we give you going forward, but also on the exam itself. You would just have to kind of draw it out beforehand, and I think it's going to be a useful strategy for you. Okay, so taking a look at digital annotation strategy number 2 here, I want you to pay attention first to this, this left-hand column. This is where you're going to trace your line of reasoning, okay? And this process is pretty familiar to you at this point, but basically you have to just read the text and try to establish, okay, what's the first position they establish? Where does the argument go from there? Where does the argument go from there? And then finally, that call to action or counter argument or whatever it's going to be. That's pretty standard stuff. What I find useful about this annotation strategy is where it moves next. So as you are looking at each paragraph or each section of the line of reasoning, it also gives you a spot to kind of identify 2 different choices. And you could expand this too. If you're drawing this at home on your own, you could try to look for 3 choices, but 2 is kind of a nice little number for you as you're trying to write your own essay. So 2 it is in this example. And then, so what's great about it is that you identify the choice here, and then you also move on to write down just a quick, or jot down just like a little bit of evidence, textual evidence from the actual piece itself. So each choice is first identified within the paragraph itself, but then also within you can also just quickly reference where it's coming from and cite that as you are writing once you hit the writing phase. And then we move on to something interesting, and here it's labeled significance, and I want to talk to you briefly before I just let you head out and try annotating with this sheet on your own today. But I want you to think about it this way, right? So we've written down SpaceCat here, which is of course the acronym that we're all very familiar with at this point. But what you can do is, as you find your choice and then you find that evidence, what I'd like you to do is just cross off or circle or whatever you want to do the letter that it's associated with, to just try to classify it as best you can in terms of its significance. So is this choice helping to support the speaker? Is this choice helping to support the purpose? If it's both, cross off or circle both S and P. And in that way, you can start to not only recognize the relationship between the speaker and the choices that are being made, but also to start to articulate those tensions and those complexities. Because once you recognize that this choice is connected to the speaker in some way, you can also start to recognize that that choice is connected to the audience. And then you're starting to bridge the gap a little bit between speaker and audience. I think what you guys are really good at up to this point, I've noticed in your writing, is that you're really good at recognizing who the speaker is. You can start to go in there and you can go, okay, this speaker must be this type of person, and they're making this choice for this particular reason. But what you need to start to be able to do, if you want to take a stab at this second way to get the sophistication point, is you need to start to be able to articulate the relationships between different elements of the rhetorical situation, and recognize those elements and then to articulate them. So That's your task for today. It's kind of a two-step process. I want you to annotate this before I even show you what I think of it, before I even read it to you and go over it myself. We'll do that tomorrow. Today, I just want you to go in cold and use this annotation strategy as best you can. Feel free to modify it however you want. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it works for you. So you're going to go in, you're going to read this prompt, and you are going to annotate this in sort of a two-step process. I want you to think about it in terms of recognizing the choices being made and then recognizing the significance and the relationship between choices and the different elements of the rhetorical situation. Good luck. If this seems complicated, we'll talk tomorrow. Just take a stab at it today.